All systems go, or
All systems go. I just finished. Oh, the USA and Australia
yeah,
game just
who won?
finished. USA.
Oh, what was the was it a good win or close?
I think it was close all the way to the second half.
Yeah.
And then USA were losing by 4 points, and then they just took over the second half. It's a bit. When you watch USA, you expect them to win, but it's hard to see them struggle. Eh?
I think it's the rules. All those European teams and that they kind of play by the same the FIBA rules, so they know how all the little tricks and all the like how to goaltend, what the NBA would call a goaltend. They're quite masaito, or they know, so they do the little knock it off the top of the hoop while it's trying to go in, or
That's right, because it's only 10-minute quarters, huh?
yeah. And the other thing is, at the end of a game, in the NBA you can foul. You kind of play the clocks. You get so many timeouts, and you can't do that in the international game. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, you were telling me before we can't jump the mics, you're a LeBron fan.
You must be excited now. Your team, the Lakers.
But only at the Cavs, huh? You said.
Yeah, I was following that hard out since Miami, then back to Cleveland, and then because after that he went to the Lakers.
Yeah.
After that, I just it's not like I didn't lose interest. I just had other things that took up my time. So like I'm mindful of it, but every month I'll go back. NBA top plays of the month, just see what's been going on. But I haven't been following it too closely like the last few years. As soon as I knew they were a bit shit, and weren't making the playoffs, I was like, yeah.
No, it's true because you have been busy, man, releasing your children's books. Because your third one's about to drop, huh? Is it?
It's I was hoping for we're on, eh?
Yeah, man.
I was hoping for Father's Day, because it is a story around Father's Day, or around fathers, sorry. But we're not going to make that deadline. It'll probably be at the end of September, because Father's Day is at the start of it. So.
Yeah. See, I knew about it because I listened to your interview on 531.
Yeah.
And you said you were going to drop it before Father's Day, which is soon, next week or...
Oh, it's this guy, eh?
Yeah.
Is your dad going to be expecting you at Kongai, or?
Yeah, man, I have to...
Yeah. That's not too far away. See, even I don't know I know it's mid-September.
Right? Yeah, I think it's the first Sunday.
Yes. Yeah. Put that in the diary. Yeah. Now, so, with your writing in it, your first couple of books, what's, because, we kind of do writing, or these guys do writing, I usually don't make the deadlines and that, but where's your inspiration? Like, what was the first thing that you went, you know what, I'm going to start writing a book?
That first book. The honest truth is, it was more of an accident, really. Last year around November, I had left my job, and I think I might have told the story on 531 as well, but in preparation to leave, I was trying to understand grants and funding, and so I went ahead and try to practice how to write these applications, because I was going to venture off and do my own thing. And one of the first applications that I wrote was for the Ministry of Pacific Peoples Language Fund. It was about $2,000, and I looked at it and thought, I got no business applying for this, but all I wanted to do was apply and get some feedback, because I don't know how much to write in these answer sections, because they ask you questions in that. So I filled it out with the intent that they're gonna bounce me. That's fine, but I just want to just practice. In that application too, I think one of the main questions is, what are you going to use this funding for? And just off the top of my head, I was like, I don't know, write a book, a kid's book. Just as a joke.
Yeah.
I had no intent to write a book, because I knew, I was going to I thought I was going to get bounced. Anyway, a few weeks later, Tony Laulu, you're successful. And I was like, oh shit, now I have to write a book. So it caught me by surprise, eh? So like obviously I had to honor that their grant and so yeah, bro, I guess in terms of the actual story, it's about my two boys, and it had to be around my work around digital discipline as well. So the story, in short, goes that my two boys are bored, and they decide to go pick up their friends. So they pick up a series of friends, but every time they stop by their friend's house, they're either on a phone or so in front of a screen, really. So yeah, that's kind of how that first book got started. So in terms of writing the story, it was easy. I done it in a day, but bro, like it was the logistics of this book, like how to make a book, because we all have seen books, but real naive as to how it gets from over here into a book format. That's an industry that I had to learn about quickly, Yeah, man. So that's kind of how it all started. Yeah, the beginning part of it, anyway.
Yeah. It's funny you see this accident. You said, "Oh, I'm gonna write a book," but I think maybe it's something that you really wanted to do, like dream about writing the book. Because when I think about what you do, when you used to do this part time, like your digital discipline, like you're like advocate for using social media for good and not evil, sort of thing. So when I heard about your first book and the story about your two sons going to meet their friends and they're on their iPad and stuff like that, I was, man, that is so brilliant to have that medium, a children's book, to sort of educate your message for social media that way. And man, I can see this book like at the primary schools, kids reading it and just getting an idea. It's a story for the kid, but it'll sort of plant a seed and probably about those two boys or your sons seeing those other kids on there.
Yeah, and the message as well, because you remember, when we're growing up in kids, you can recall the books that you've read, because you've either had to read them out in front of the other students and so they go, the Dr. Seuss book, or there's the Harry McCleary, those kind of books that iconic, but you remember them, but there's always a lesson behind them. You know what I mean? Like the Tortoise and the Hare, you would have read that, but you know that the moral around the story is not how fast or it's about the moral is it's not always the fastest person that gets there, but the consistent person that gets there, or the person that sticks at it. And now that you've got that format, now you're talking about digital discipline. These kids now have it in front of them. They don't have to go online, or they can get it online, but they're learning like the way that we learnt these lessons. They're learning it because they're able to read it. So I think that's a brilliant way to get that story out there. That's awesome.
And also your characters Pacific Islanders, and so automatically that's someone they can relate to. If you're, if these books are going to bilingual classes, because MOE's pushing those bilingual classes all over, all over schools and stuff. I know because my partner, she's a bilingual teacher at her primary school.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I might have to try and get. Have MOE approached you for those books for?
Yeah, man. So
to be in schools and stuff.
That first book, I'm not sure how they came across it. Actually, I think I was introduced. I have a really good friend, David Riley, who writes some Pacific books as well. He put me on to someone at the MOE who he thought might be interested in the books. So that first one, just blessings. Like they went and bought 500 books off me. And so those all got sent to Wellington, and I guess they're using it to distribute down there. What also was a massive blessing as well is Spark Foundation had come to the table as well and said, look, we want to buy 800 of your books, and we'll buy it and you distribute it for free to any groups or schools or churches that would otherwise not been able to afford it. And like those two sort of surprising blessings just caught me off guard, because the $2,000 didn't go far at all in terms of printing costs here in New Zealand. The printing costs were over 10K, so I forked out for it. I just had to I just had this decision in terms of risk and reward, and I thought I'm going to back myself. I'm going to print a couple hundred. It's only supposed to be 800, and then we'll just sell it, kind of thing. And so altogether it was probably like 14 grand. The whole process of this is paying illustrator, who's my friend Thomas, having someone to clean up the translation, editor. There's all these other people that are part of this process before it hits a shelf. And so I just had this self-belief that, okay, thank you for your little $2,000.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not gonna. But I'll fill in the rest of this myself. But yeah, fortunate that Spark and MOE came, because off the bat, that 800 plus the 500 covered all the costs, because they were going for $25, and so it cleared that whole part of my first bit of investment into it. And so I guess from there, with the second book, the Ministry of Education were happy with that first one, and then I had every intent to because they they bought the books but didn't talk about how do we support you further. But I had told them that this other book's in the works, and so they again came and said, look, we'll help fund the whole creation of this book, from printing to paying yourself to paying your illustrator and everybody else. So out of nowhere, I didn't have to dip into my own pocket, Ministry of Education. So I just wrote up my little budget of how much everything will cost, and then they just stamped it and then just handed it over, and then with those funds I was able to do it. So I was a bit hesitant, because this is the thing, when you wheel and deal with these corporates, it's foreign to us. You're like, okay, so what's the catch here? Because you're saying that you'll fund it. What obligation do I have? So I needed to be absolutely thorough about, I'm not getting trapped in something or locked into something. So it was just question after question, because you're giving me over 20K here. What?
Yeah.
but we're skeptical too,
exactly.
we're in and around those, we don't fall for it now in our generation, but we do nah, don't be us. You're not going to do that.
With that, any time did you feel like maybe I need a lawyer or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, no, I didn't. I guess I thought I had enough sense to be thorough, absolutely thorough, and through the email trails, I made sure I didn't ask over the phone. I asked through email, and made sure that there was an email trail of what I asked and what they said, and so that I think I used that as my protection, because I just said, look, if you're gonna forward me this grant, what obligation? And they said no. And then I said, the other thing I was worried about, because they bought that 500 originally from the first book, I thought that if they are funding this next one, that X amount of books need to go to them because they funded it. But they said no. They said, we'll fund the book and then we'll buy the books off you.
Wow.
So I said, and I had to triple check on that. I was like, nah, just make sure I'm making sense.
And you're going to buy it off me. Oh, yeah.
It just sounds almost too good to be true. Because you've handed me this and you're going to buy it. I guess those situations kind of tell me and tell us that the government's got money, and there's different purposes around why I think it all worked. Firstly, there's a hole in bilingual literature and resources. Secondly, for on a personal level, they don't have any youngish or Pacific male authors, and so in terms of demand, all our beautiful sisters, they're our authors when it comes to most of the books that you find. If you look at any Pacific section in the or let alone the whole library, it's a lot of our women that write books, and so not too many males, let alone someone that looks like me. You'd you never say he looks like an author. It's probably more like he looks like maybe a criminal. But yeah, man. So yeah, just fortunate. Just I thank God that that these opportunities have come in terms of the books anyway. So
Yeah.
yeah, man.
You know how you said like you found a demand or you found a hole. Was that something that you discovered while doing your research, or something that was this born out of your passion to get your initial message for the digital thing, and then it's turned into something bigger, like your next two books, and then was that something that just evolved?
Yeah, a lot of the stuff just kind of has started off as a seed, but because I think my mind's pretty entrepreneurial from the offset anyway. These sort of passion projects like digital discipline and how I was born, and I was doing these workshops for free because I just thought that's what you do. Us as islanders and Samoans, when it comes to service, we always associate it with volunteer or for free, and so that was a massive hurdle, for me to get over, that you could provide a service or a product and actually charge for it. And so when it came to the books, when it landed, when they said, oh, you're successful, and then I started to write this thing, I went to the library and I thought, man, there's not many books that I think should be there. I mean, there's heaps of cool ones. David Riley's one's awesome. But there are some stories. What I'm trying to say is there's heaps of stories that aren't being told, that aren't on our shelves, that our children can relate to. And so for me, I was like, in terms of an opportunity, for me, it's always dual. The first one is the passion and the heart, because there's some Samoan stories that aren't being told. And secondly is there's a business opportunity. And what they label that in the sort of corporate world is they call that a social enterprise mentality, or it's not like you're selling some sort of rubbish product that has absolutely no value to anybody. There's multiple purposes for these for these things that are being pushed out.
Do you think there's a clash with that sort of thing? Like you get, like you said, the social sort of entrepreneurship where you're helping the community, you're giving back to the community, and it's like it's a sustainable. But then, like you said, like you get the big corporates like Coca-Cola, who's selling sugar water to the world and making millions of dollars. Like, do you think there's a clash between or is there, if you go the community route, do you think, I don't know if there's any examples of a business like that takes off to be, like.
Well, I think what I thought you were referring to when you were saying that the corporates talk about social enterprise, I thought what I gathered from that was, if your thing is it's not for really personal gain, it's to actually expose people to social happenings, or something like, you're exposing people to the Samoan language or to bilingual. So I think it depends on where you're coming from. So if you're coming from with the intent of just making money, it's not, it's the principle. Well, that's the way I think. The like how you said that, when you were doing the workshops and that, you thought it was for free. Because that's as islanders, it's about serving. And you feel like you're giving back to the people. It reminds you of an example of we had Tracy Atsinga come on, and she is the CEO of, what was it, Kalanoa, the rugby? Yeah. So she came on, and she was doing the same kind of thing where she was offering services. It wasn't until a prominent MP said to her, "Okay, how much should you get paid?" And she was like, "Well, I usually just do it for free." And he's like, "Come on, man, there's a big bad world out there. I know you people, you do it from your heart, but you should be charging." And as soon as she got that in her mind, she went, "Okay, then let's play the game." Is that the kind of thing that happened to you? You went like this, you know what? I can actually make a living, but still get my message out there. Did you have a turning point like that?
Yeah, bro. That's like dead set what it was, eh? Because we were all raised that way. Church, so we never associated service with any monetary gain. not even a koha. Like, you know, when people try, you know, like you do some sort of volunteer work and they try to slide you on. Don't worry about it.
That's it.
That's our mentality.
Yeah.
So by nature, you know, in terms of service, it's never associated with, you know, oh well, like what's the transaction here? I'll do this for 2 hours and you pay me this. It's never like that. But see, those turning points came as well, and it was uncomfortable because I thought, you know, there was heaps of self-reflection that I had to do, only because initially I felt like, you know, I'm selling out, you know, selling myself out, because now I'm charging, you know, for these workshops. But I think what we need to understand is the levels that I've moved through. I'm not talking like I'm over here or anything, but the transitions that have happened, or the evolution, is I was charging schools, community groups and church groups. Not really. If you got something, great. If not, great. I'm still coming. Whatever, you know, workshop I'm doing over here for X amount, and you don't have it, don't worry, I'll do it for free. So there was charging the actual client. Let's call them a client. And so those were hard to come by because they're like one-offs, right? But I think we want to sit, and I think there might be other levels above this, but where it is at the moment, the Ministry of Education late last year had said, look, we'll pay you for 6 months. You do X amount of workshops, and we had to sort of barter to see how many workshops equals this amount. And then it was yes. And then we both agreed that this is how much it's going to cost to do X amount of workshops. And so I went back to my community and said, I'll do these workshops for free. So they don't have to fork out anymore. These schools don't have to fork out, because the big dogs over here with the massive wallet, they're gonna pay me for it. So I just added up how much it costs, you know, and you try to push it a little bit, because even though they're islanders who I'm dealing with at the ministry, I had to remind myself it's not their money. It's coming from this massive wallet over here, this unknown, you know. So I had to remove a little bit of emotion out of it, because, you know, always my spirit's always like, don't charge that much. Like, it's uncomfortable, but I had to remind myself, this, if you want to make it like in terms of social enterprise, and you want to monetize this and turn it into a, you know, a sustainable business that you can live off, plus not losing anything in your message, bro. This is the pocket, man. Sit right there and you charge how much you think it's worth. And see, even those have been hurdles, because, you know, the early workshops were like $40, $50. And there's these like hurdles that you're like, how you justify it. And then after that, you're starting to charge that same one for, you know, I don't know, like 1,000 times more, like in terms of, I'm not saying $1,000, but like, you know, it jumps up significantly. And honestly, a lot of corporates, they don't bat an eyelid like that. So when you start to understand the brackets of charging that our Palangi associates are doing for a service, we're way behind in terms of accepting that we're worthy of that. So I've had to climb and tell myself, nah, you charge that top dollar. You know why? Because no one else is doing what you're doing. You know, if I was doing
the message
exactly,
yeah.
If I was doing some sort of management 101, you know, there's heaps of other people doing that, or, you know, people skills, you know, 102 or something. Like, there's so many companies that do, but in terms of like digital well-being, or talking about the impact of social media or screen time, outside of NetSafe, I'm not sure if there's other, you know, an independent individual outside of the government that's running this. And so that's why I had to make sure that, you know, I am charging a expertise fee, you know, because I guess that the question that I posed now and then is, if not me, who you gonna get? You go look,
Yeah.
go look around, and then you just come back. Oh yeah, so yeah. So yeah, man, it's all learning on the go. Really, I don't have any intent, but you just we just every day, man, just keep at it.
That's an awesome message how you said that you had to step back you know, because we're so used to, like, we kind of undervalue ourselves, you know, and it's just the island way. But to see the growth that you've made, that you actually went, nah, the message is this good. It's worthy of bringing it up to this level. Now, when you go in, you're not playing the game, but you're meeting at the table. Because I was just thinking when you were saying about how you're bartering between how much workshops you were going to do, like, you know, when people throw money at you, like your first, I'll be there every day. And then, you know, you're 2 weeks into it, man, what did I tell them? I was going to try and do it 9 to 10 in the evening and that kind of stuff. That must have been difficult for you to try and assess that kind of stuff.
Yeah, bro. It's like, but you know what? I did exactly that because they set an amount, and then I set how many learners or workshops I was going to do. But I'm so grateful. Her name's Vai, who works at the ministry. She said, wink, wink. You know,
She said,
bring your thing down a little bit. You bring your your learners down, just so it's doable. I knew I could do it. It would be a stretch, but I was like, yeah, is that the amount? Bro, I'll go. Like,
yeah.
But I'm glad she halved it, and I was like, hey, that means these are worth X per workshop then? And she was like, no, we'll start there and then see how we go. So, you know, I didn't say, nah, don't worry, I'll just do the whole, you know. I just said, okay, we'll see it there. If that's your direction and that's your wisdom, then cool, I'll do it. But as soon as she done that, I made sure in my mind I'm gonna overachieve then. Not all the way to what I said, but you know, overachieve to the point where it's impressive, you know, and I can show that I can collect data, I can report, I can do all of these, create resources, I can shift, different, what do you call it, perceptions, or, you know, we have surveys at the pre-surveys and post-surveys, and make sure that I can show these shifts and feedback. None of those were required of me, but I made sure that I done those little extra 1%ers, so that by the end of this little contract, the 6-month one, I knew there was an opportunity for a renewal, and so I just wanted to make sure I position myself. I liken it a lot to just to footy. Like, you get your little ITM Cup contract, and you're gonna gun for it. You're gonna make sure, because the next thing is Super Rugby, and you do everything. You do all the little extras that's required of you. And so I had that mentality, you know. I was playing over here for free, you know, like club rugby.
yeah.
Now
nice.
I got my shot, you know.
Yeah.
This is my ITM Cup. This next 6 months from Jan to June, I'm gonna go for it. And then after that, if we can lock in something longer term, then we're just gonna do it again. Just get progressive in that kind of sense. So yeah, fortunate, man, like that they came back and said they were able to, or they're happy with, you know, my work. They're happy with this next proposal, and so they're gonna fund me for the next 2 years.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, bro. And
That's
so,
awesome, Moose.
yeah, man. And so I guess the cool thing is I can go back to my community over the next couple weeks and months and say, look, Digital Discipline is running workshops, and you know, we'll do it free of charge, kind of thing. So nobody has to feel like, oh man, I got no, you know, we don't have budget because it's nearly the end of the year. So I was just like, nah, man, we're doing it for free. Yeah, man. So that's kind of the game that I'm learning. You know, I don't know the whole thing, but it's just like video games, man. You get on that next level and you keep playing. You might fail, but you're just like, oh yeah, now you
Learn
know,
from
man.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you just evolve, man.
And that's cool, man. That's cool because, you know, we realize we get inspired a lot of our guests that come in and talk about how, you know, they've had a passion for something on the side and it grows into their full-time work. You know, they leave their job and they do this because it's their passion now, and they make a living out of it, you know. And man, those stories are really cool, and you're another one that's doing that. You know, your how much of Digital Discipline has grown since you started, and how much have you seen in the community that what you've done like impacted or brought awareness to everybody? And have you seen any results, good results from when you first started till now?
Yeah, hard out. I mean, it's one of those topics that is very new. It's this whole sort of project I still feel is a little bit ahead of its time. to be honest, and that's a good and bad thing, because good in the sense that there's preventative stuff, but not so good in the sense that people don't see the value. You know, some people don't see the value in it, because there's such a push in tech and STEM, you know, and all of these you know, getting our kids digitally savvy, and they talk about the digital divide and all of that sort of stuff, which means they're trying to get our people be a bit more capable online. When I come in with my message, some people may assume that it's you know, that it's they don't swim together kind of thing, that it's against
That's
the
anti
anti you know,
internet. Yeah.
But that's when you come in the education.
yeah,
Tell what,
but it's not actually, because I think if you're going to enable anything in the community, there needs to be consideration around the well-being aspect of something. And so I think a few school leaders and principals are now catching on, because what used to be a little bit of a problem when it comes to students and, you know, the amount of kids that are coming to school either tired, the amount of students who are struggling emotionally because of these online relationships that they have, because, you know, that's the only place that they communicate on, issues where kids are sending nudes to each other, and now a whole bunch of people at school know, like, they're starting to know now that it's, you know, it wasn't a one-off anymore. Kids are getting stabbed and having fights over who said what over whose school, and these schools are behind the ball because they haven't had any education around it. They have had NetSafe, and I don't know them too well. They're the government arm of like online safety, and I think they're in schools. But I think from their angle, there's nothing, like, I'm not downing them. They're perfect, But I think it's more the technical aspects of being online, like online safety, how to adjust your privacy settings, like it's that kind of stuff. Digital disciplines probably more the emotional stuff, the actual mental well-being. It's all the very deep stuff that you know, when you are struggling, it's an addiction, it's an escape. So just like any drug, gambling, excessive alcohol that you know, our community takes to escape from problems, social media is that's what it is right now. And amongst gaming and pornography, those are all an escape from your problems, you know. And it's an escape and addiction, because a lot of our people can't control their urge to put that thing down. They can't, like, you know, I'm not sure, you know, in your guys' sort of realms of work or family, but you can tell the ones who just can't put it down.
Yeah.
Every meal, taking photos, you know, every opportunity, even just walking to check the mail. Oh, look, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need to tell, like, I don't know, who am I to judge? But, like, if it's that much of an influence on someone, no matter how happy it comes off, it's concerning. It's concerning.
Yeah.
You know, when you give your message, who is it really? Is it like broad enough? Is it supposed to include the parents and their kids? Because I was just thinking, as a kid, say an island kid, you wouldn't want your mum and dad to hear it because you're telling the truth, but they're trying to hide it. And you know, island parents, when they hear something, they go, you know, like this shows how old I am. When they started bringing out the ratings for TV shows, it used to be PGRAO. You know, when AO came on, yeah, Aroa Moi, you know, because they just see it on TV, you know, and I was, no, it's just a bit of swearing in that. But, you know, when they hear it from someone, or when they say, well, someone said that this isn't right, then they come down on you. Do you feel like the kids, I mean, is the message pushed towards the parents, or is it just trying to get everyone aware of what's happening? Because I know as a if I was a student, you know, and I knew, even though I knew the pitfalls of the internet, I wouldn't want my parents to find out, because then they'd realize, actually, when they're sitting in the corner while I'm watching TV, I'm not aware of what they're looking at. Yeah,
bro, hard out. I mean, but the tough thing though, with who's requesting these workshops, and the ministry is funding it for students mostly and families. It's mostly students, sorry. That it's important for them, but the priority should be parents. They are the ones that need to hear it. And so any opportunity that I am in front of parents, I'll give it to them, because they're the enablers in all of this.
Yeah.
So a lot of parents have come and messaged and said, look, how do I get my son off Fortnite, I said, who's allowed that? Your son got a gun to your head to say, I'm playing Fortnite. You got no, No, it's us who enabled it. And I think, I'm not sure about too many parents, but I think the luxury of having a game or a screen or tablet or phone, the luxury is that they can sit there for a few hours.
Yeah.
The best babysitters in the world.
Yeah.
But the flip side to that is you are enabling these kids to camp on those places and form these unhealthy habits of addiction. And so when they're struggling mentally because now they're watching porn all night, or they're struggling because someone called them, or whatever it is on the game, and told them they're useless and whatever else and piss off, blah, blah, blah. There's such a gap between what the parents think the kids are doing and what the kids are actually doing. So you can imagine as a kid, if someone's threatening me and said, you're useless at this Fortnite game, I'm going to find you and I'm going to beat you up and kill you. Like, how are you going to tell your Samoan parents that? Because they thought you were doing your homework.
Yeah.
Hey, well, you're not, you're clocking all the levels on Fortnite.
Yeah.
There's a massive gap.
Yeah.
And that's why kids sit there in their room and it's just struggle.
Yeah.
They can't. And so it started off together. There was an understanding of what a device was. And then through the weeks and months, the gap between what the parents think the kids are doing and what the kids are actually doing. There's a gaping hole, Yeah.
Yeah, because I was just thinking that, you as a kid and you're playing the game and someone says, where do you live? I'm going to come and get you. You can't tell your parents because they're going to turn around and go, well, bring the game here. And then you're like, wow, I don't want to lose the game, but I don't want this guy to track me down and beat me up, And so I think what I love about what you're doing is it's kind of, like how you said, it's the parents namely, but kind of educating them, like you can actually just set limits, And I think that's the problem with, not the problem, I guess that is the problem, that they don't set safeguards, or they don't go, well, you go until this time, we're going to stick to this because I know what happens, or, if I'm not in view, it's awesome that you're educating the parents on this, because I'm pretty sure that only second generation Samoa or Islanders know, because I know if my dad, he just goes, Gili YouTube, he would have no idea how, he must think that the internet is just YouTube, that there's nothing else there. He just knows it's YouTube and Facebook because that's all he hears on the Likyo, But if he knew what's actually out there, I failed to see, I feel sorry to see what he would see, because it's just it's such a huge world, It's so vast.
It's exactly that, It's its own world now. Like maybe 10, 15 years ago, it was more seen as a tool. Now it's all reality, virtual reality. They have this game, they said, that you log on and you live a life in this world virtually. Like this person has a personality. You can get into marriages and relationships. You can go to work. It's the craziest thing, and you just live there, and there's no goal to it. You're just living on there.
So you just got a whole new life.
Just a whole new life online.
Far out.
Like an actual life. You book tickets to fly here.
Hey.
Yeah, it costs X amount to catch a taxi from here to here. But it's not real. Like, it's just. I was like, I couldn't understand it.
I remember reading on the paper, there was during the COVID lockdowns, or when COVID was happening, there was a guy down South Island. He was a tour guide. Obviously, he's lost a lot of work. He had this thing where he walked the track with a camera, and you can zoom it to someone around the world, and they can pay. They can pay to go on this track because he can't fly, obviously, but you can pay to go on this track.
And just watch it.
And just watch it. So it's funny because I remember thinking about how, it's probably here now in the world where you can just sit at one place all day, get Uber Eats, work from your computer, talk to people, and just go to sleep, go shit and go to sleep, and that's it, and just stay there.
Yeah.
And there's probably people doing that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's not just probably. There are definitely.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, the further you go into that world, the more you become detached from this world. We're going to end up. It's funny because I like Ready Player One, but the scary bit is that's going to be the way we're going. If we don't watch it, it's going to become a reality. And
So yeah, I think I know my message is never anti,
yeah,
but no one ever has a discussion around balance. See, when I ask parents in workshops, and I say, this is my question: is put your hand up. Who here has a dedicated screen time or social media plan at home that's functioning today? No one. No one puts their hand up. And then I explain it like who here has set routines and you don't deviate from that routine. No one puts their hand up. And then when I press a little bit, what's the rule? Anybody volunteer? What's the rule at your house? Oh yeah, it's usually tell the kids just to get off the thing, or weekends. Yeah, we let them, but it's all really loose. And sometimes I think people are just giving an answer just for the sake of giving an answer, but no one has a dedicated plan. If you're having kids that are growing up in this digital age, like most things, they need some parameters. They need some guides as to how much is too much. I think we do it for crossing the road. There's safety for that. There's safety for swimming. There's safety about strangers. But when it comes to screen time, people think it's just so innocent. Just because they're watching Daniel the Tiger doesn't mean that the next ad that's going to pop up is full of girls with their titties almost hanging out kind of thing, and now your 4-year-old seen it. You can't unsee anything, or they click on the wrong tab, or they, there's messed up people out there that make sure that the website, some common kids websites, they just change one little letter and you end up at a porn site kind of thing, and so that's the risk that you're taking by thinking they're just going to watch. Like there was an experience that I had with my son. This is before digital discipline, and you know how it has suggested videos on the side. So he's watching something, and it was a cartoon, and like most parents, I was like, oh, yes, he's safe. Next time I come back, it was like these people acting as superheroes, but the superhero girls, just like hanging out,
Far
bikinis, they're acting like, there's a Spider-Man and a Flash, there's some dumbass script, but the woman on there, even, like for any teenager, it's inappropriate, but my little son's watching it, and I'm like, holy shit, this is not, but see, that's in terms of content creation, this is how, some people don't care, like, and so from that, it started to trigger this, man, I gotta be aware, even though he probably doesn't think much of it. But for me, that's not content that he should be watching, where this lady's running out and just like, it's not something a 4-year-old should be watching,
Yeah.
And that's my bad, because I was naive, just like a lot of us today. We just don't know. Like,
Did you have conversations with anyone, other parents that time, that saw the same thing? I think that was the start of your awareness of what's going on, and at that time, was there conversations around?
See, this was probably 2017, 16, 17, when I started to wake up to the fact that this thing is gonna take me away from my sons. It's gonna take me away from being present. It's gonna start to mess up, or already had started to mess up my sleep, my mental health, this whole range of things. The few people that I spoke to, I can't remember specifically, but I do remember the impression that this is just normal life. Like, this is, and yes, it is in one sense, but then no, it's not as well.
I guess this come back to when you said you're ahead of your time. When you said that, like back.
I think so. I think people are catching on now. I think when people are aware of mental health, they are starting to now click on that the access that kids have to the internet or social media. There's no coincidence that it coincides with the rise of anxiety, depression, suicide, and all the rest of those mental health, and that's not even counting, self-esteem, self-worth, people being conscious about their body image, seeing these superficial relationships online. Now they think my partner should be taking me out to brunch every other day, like this other couple over here that I'm seeing, or I should have the new Jordans or whatnot, like all of that. If you remember back to our time in high school, in terms of envy or wanting something, you only saw it from a few people. It's only that one dude that's always got cool shoes.
Got the gears, yeah.
Oh, man, I wish my parents could afford.
Yeah.
But really, it was the older brothers, clearly.
Yeah. These days, it's the same thing, but you're seeing it from 1,000 people. Shit, he's got the new Fendi thing. Like, you watch stories, man. Like me, I watch a couple and then I'm done. Like before, man, I'll clear it out. I'll try to get to the bottom of this timeline, and searching for nothing really. All it does is just make you feel shit. Like, and I remember feeling like that because I had friends of friends or friends that would play footy overseas, same age as me, and I'm thinking, man, I'm in this 1-bedroom flat, struggling financially. This guy's, those rugby photos, like,
Yeah.
Man. So you want to be happy, but then you look at yourself, oh, man, I'm struggling to pay this credit card off. This guy's like probably on, 6 figures, $250,000 easy. And then, it does stuff to you. Think about our lovely woman, some might be a little bit on the heavy side. And if you see enough of these bikini looking bodies, and let's say, for example, our young woman in their teenage years, if they're not emotionally mature enough, and you start seeing, even if it's people in and around you that are, they're looking good, nothing wrong with that. But if you're not feeling, you're not high on your self-esteem, then that's going to chip away at you day by day. And that'll start you go down this route of, I'm not even worth it. I can't lose this weight. I don't look like Sally. I don't look like Te Wila, whoever it is. I don't look like that. So, and then, it starts to play on you big time. And then that's when mental health issues start to creep in. As too much social media. It's the best place to compare yourself to everybody if you're not emotionally mature. That's the case.
Besides yourself, have you seen other awareness going on in the system? Like, has your message been shouted out in other places?
I honestly don't know of any organisation. I know of the Lighthouse Project who focus only on pornography. There's DNA, who's Digital Natives Academy from Rotorua. They're a gaming outfit, but they also are intentional about their gaming healthy habits kind of stuff. So those are probably two. There's NetSafe, but anybody else, I'm not sure. I know that people have tried to steal the IP of digital discipline, but
I was just thinking that because the message is so strong and so clear, and it's so set, like it's distinctive. I know other people that would want to try and come and try and start their own thing and try, even though you've already I'm not going to say got the market, but because your one stands out amongst everything else. How difficult is it for you to have people that you see similar things that are just trying to copy your story instead of actually just doing their own, or seeing a different branch?
Like the digital well-being space outside of NetSafe, like as a person that isn't or wasn't funded by a government to do that work, I haven't come across anyone, but there was that first season that I was very wary that in all humility, that I was onto something, more so because I wanted to share my message, but the uniqueness of these workshops, no one was talking about it, and so I knew for the next few months, if people start to hear about it, like these bigger trusts or organizations, and in particular the Pacific ones, might have a little look down at Tony's alley, because they're delivering, I don't know, let's say suicide prevention something, or I don't know, mental well-being stuff. if they found out about digital well-being, they're like, nah, shit, add that to our resource, add that to our little workshop kit, you know. So I was always like, for that first couple months, I had a chip on my shoulder. I was like, oh shit, is there anybody, because I hadn't established myself, I think the deterrence, and I won't name them, but Tangata Pasifika did a piece on me, and I think that was the start of repelling anybody from duplicating digital discipline. See, this digital wellbeing space, I don't own it. Like, anybody can do it. Like, I don't, I'm not trying to fend people off from doing it. Like, you can go and do it. Just don't take my resources and don't take my content. And I think it has happened.
The thing about people doing that is, like, it's not their perspective. I mean, it has to come from you, because you're the one that have your own perspective, and you might have, everybody's got unique ideas, and you can't really steal an idea.
That's right.
Really, the heart and soul of the idea, and you can take what was said, but you can't take,
Can't take the story,
exactly,
and the journey, And so I think that's, I'm pretty sure people have entertained the idea of taking it, but in terms of passion, I'd bank that they probably wouldn't have it, because they didn't walk years of this situation, of this experience, where it was tough. So I'd like to think that I do know what I'm talking about, and I do know that these solutions that we're talking about can work for you, and when we're talking about the impact that it's having, that I know what it's like as a parent, and I know what it's like for young people to go through these, through this digital age kind of thing. So, I guess that might be my competitive advantage, I guess, is its uniqueness to my story and personality. So, yeah.
Moving forward with your message, to me, it feels like first comes the awareness part. Just establish and just identify what's the problem, and then the solutions to the problem. I've heard you before on another podcast say, be a creator rather than a consumer. So that sounds really good. How are you educating the parents or people to do that? I mean, like, especially kids on games. Like, when I heard of that, I was thinking, okay, why not make the game? But how you can do that? Like, how, like, you can do a podcast on online. You can do art online, stuff like that. You can create things for people to enjoy, rather than just swiping left.
Yep.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the stuff that I that's the reason why I love parts of the online world, is we would never have had access to content that's of value. We would never have seen art that we would never have seen. And I appreciate all our people, our Pacific people, who are pushing their product, their message, their service, their art online. And my little cousins, there's two. Oh, I sound like those. Oh, that guy. But their musical careers were launched from social media. There's Standard, and one of my cousins is in the HP Boys. But see, without social media, would they have made it if they were just doing gigs at pubs and clubs? I don't think so. But it's because social media, they used social media as a tool to leverage their artistical desires, blew up. And now they are where they are. And so in that sense, they've created something, they've created content and put it out there. And so that's what I appreciate more about, or would like our people to do more of, is to have this creativity mindset when it comes to being online. Like, you're searching online to get inspiration to go away and do something, instead of scrolling for no reason at all.
I was just thinking of that was it Josh 685 or the see
Sorry.
he is a person that was what you're talking about. He was a creator, not a consumer, and he's a person where social media, like you said, that if it wasn't for that TikTok thing, see all the avenues that it picked up. That's using the internet or the power of social media to actually make a living or to actually get your message out there. So it's just bang on like what you're trying to teach our kids or teach our parents that that there's an avenue there, eh?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, people have asked, but esports and gaming's the big thing, and your big dollars. Cool, I appreciate that. But if that's your goal and intent, go hard. But if it's this, you're not really trying to excel in esports, if you're just playing it 5-6 hours a day for the sake of it, then that's probably when we need to evaluate whether this is a good use of your time. A lot of kids do TikTok. Okay, what are we trying to achieve here? If it's purely because you want the influx of likes and people saying, "Oh, you guys are so mean. You and your sister's far. You guys are so good." If that's all you're doing it for, the intent to just boost your little ego and help you feel cool,
superficial as well, eh?
that's right. Then you can find things that have a more sure foundation outside of TikTok.
Yeah.
But if it is to blow up and you actually got a unique dance and you actually can dance, cool, go for it, bro.
Yeah,
Go for
yeah,
it. TikTok's it. But if it's just monkey see, monkey do, we're just following the crowd just because that's the new song, and now we're spending hours learning all of these TikTok dances for what? I mean, if it's used for the intent to build relationships with your family, and that's what your family loves to do because that's how you guys get along, cool, go ahead and do it. But if it's for likes, chasing clout, getting comments of, "Why you look so good, bro," like, "Oh man," all of that sort of stuff. If that's what you're living for off these platforms, then there's probably something that I disagree with.
It reminds me of I don't know if you watched this series on Netflix called Black Mirror, and there's an episode there where they use, so in the future, instead of currency, they start using likes. So you start doing battle stuff just so you can get likes. But when you get thumbs, when people dislike it, you start losing money. So all your currency is likes. So you start doing the most outrageous things for people to give, and start getting up. And then the program keeps going, and then she starts revealing true stuff of herself, and people start disliking it. So she keeps losing likes. So that's kind of like a currency. And then, kind of in the end, it just ends up all bad. And that's what that's the vision I was getting when you were talking about that stuff. If you're just doing it for, just for the likes, for yourself, for your ego or something, that's not real, eh? It's, you can't live off that. You've got to have like a truer meaning, or like a more self-worth,
Bro, like, I need to know the name of it because I want to watch it. But,
oh, yeah.
What you call it? That movie totally portrays what's going on, especially in our youth. There's this perception, and this is because I've talked to them. There's this perception that there's this magical number of at least 1,000 followers to make others feel like you're relevant. So there's this magical number. So anything above that, like there's high school kids with thousands of followers for no reason, and it's because they probably have a nice, for their age, body shape, and they do these TikTok dances and like show a bit of skin, or maybe he's got his shirt off doing TikTok dances, and these kids got 3,000 and you're like, hey, there's absolutely no value I'm getting out of this profile. But it's because it's that we're just doing, or they're just doing these performative sort of things to get the likes, to get the followers, and that's their social currency online, and all of a sudden they almost feel like they're relevant. Like, and no disrespect to our young people, but just because you got a couple thousand followers doesn't mean anything in the real world, And what's interesting too, because there's been heaps of Pacific social, sort of what do you call it? Not issues, but current affairs. And then when these people that have thousands of start to have their opinion on something, great, you have an opinion, but please just stick to your dance. Like that. There's this temptation that because we got heaps of so it's a really weird. It's a really weird just way of living online, because a lot of their self-worth is coming from how many followers and all of that sort of stuff.
It's interesting because I do the social media for our network, and I find that the likes we get don't correspond to the plays on our podcast. So
Mm.
it's totally different. There's less likes than there are plays,
Mm.
you know, and I can see people going for the likes, but it's not about that. But it's funny, like 10 years ago, like I got off social media completely because I didn't like all the stuff that I could see and that was distracting too. The only reason why I got back on social media because of
Mm.
we started this network, so I had to go back on. But for the longest time, I didn't like social media. But it was interesting how, you know, some people can get sick of it, you know, if they see too much bad stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys have watched the Social Dilemma, there's
Mm.
heaps of, like, whatever you stay on too long on, it collects all your data. Like, it knows you very, very well. So if you've watched that little Muhammad Ali highlight for a few seconds, it knows to play boxing for you.
Yeah.
So if it's WWE or if it's NBA highlights, it's that advanced where it starts to understand what kind of content you like, and the reason for that is so that they can keep you on there. Like that's the game. Thousands of them, you know.
I mean, it's advertising, right? It's
advertising. It's
right?
driven by that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there's no, I feel like there's no morals to it. They mask it with, trying to do these preventative stuff, but there's been so many social media issues that have happened, and then they try and rectify it, But they could have easily done, some measures to make sure that we avoid certain incidences, but it's gonna stuff their money train up. So it's better to just apologize instead of doing some hard yards to prevent kids from doing this. And I mean, given that I think they're doing okay stuff, they have YouTube for kids and they're trying to make things safer. There's Messenger for kids. It still defeats the purpose because kids should be communicating in person. I spoke to a couple. This is kind of slightly off topic, but a few principals are getting concerned because there's 5-year-olds turning up to school that don't have the standard of fine motor skills, of speech, of behavior, and they can only put it down to the thousands of hours these kids have just been watching, Paw Patrol or Teletubbies or whatever the Wiggles. They're not communicating with their parents, or the parents aren't. Actually, it's the other way around. Parents aren't communicating. They're not putting their kids through experiences. They're not letting their kids play outside. They're not letting their kids experience anything. So when they're coming to school, like this one principal in Mangere, she's noticed the kids that were turning up 10 years ago to the kids turning up today. There's a gap because they're just not developed, because they've been robbed of all of that development experiences because they're sitting in front of their TV, most of the day. So it's scary, eh?
Yeah.
That they think, I think some, and I'm guilty of it. I thought I was doing my son a favor. It's so cool that he can play Subway Surfer. Can't even put a sentence together, But we think, he's he knows to unlock this and that. Actually, you shouldn't be proud of that. Be proud that you've taught him, his ABCs, or 1, 2, 3, or he knows how to say thank you. That should be something that we should be proud of. Not that he can unlock this thing and go into this, or at least learn that after he's learned his ABCs and 1, 2, 3, and know how to talk. Prioritize that, and then we can have time for that. But it's out of whack. The sync, between or the gap between what was the development of kids a couple of years ago to today is slowly decreasing.
How old are your kids?
They
by the way?
are 7 and 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're getting ready for when they're amongst the kids with phones.
Bro, it's funny. They like we own a PS2 and a Nintendo 64, and it was the funniest thing, man. Like, it was a few weeks ago. We were playing NBA 08. So we're talking like
Yeah, man.
13 years ago, 14. And it was, I went to replay something because I remember I blocked him. Zoom up on a face. My son goes, this is because he's not around PS4. He goes to me, it looks so realistic. So I cracked. I was like,
little boy.
you haven't seen the PS4. He was like, it looks so realistic because it was like, I was like, man, if you saw the 2K game now, like you see the sweat dripping down there and the facial expression. These guys like still up in the ears, like the mouth is still closed. like, oh yeah, good on you, son. Nah, yeah, look, yeah. I was like, yeah, it's realistic. Hey, hello, it looks real.
I think that's the reason why I don't play games anymore, because it looks too real. You know, I'm old school playing Atari and all that, but the games are too intimidating now. You know, don't know what to do.
My fear is I don't play because by nature I'm quite, if I'm into something, I'm all the way, So that's why I haven't played Fortnite. I don't play that stuff because I know. So I'm gonna be coming to one of your workshops and my muck's gonna be red like there you go, silly. I'm sure I told this guy when I went on his podcast, and he looks like he's part of the problem now. So yeah,
you know, like coming back to when you quit your full-time job, like how scary was that? I mean, man, that's gotta be.
It's I've always this is stuff that I don't usually say because we're always taught to be humble, but for the sake of this podcast and I think a few other conversations I've had only recently is I've always wanted to pioneer, and I think we always should. We always hear people talking about, we're navigators, blah blah blah. Cool, but what have you navigated? What have you gone and frontiered? And so I don't ever say that cliche line. 'Cause that's sailing's not relatable to me. But I've taken the concept of that and try to find out in my life where's the new, like, what's beyond the reef for me, because I want to pioneer something so that my sons can see that this is possible, and maybe the people around me can see that this is possible. So in terms of leaving a job, that was the first step to becoming independent or getting out on my own and being a hustler. I think, a lot of the motivation to that was my dad, in one part because he was a taxi driver for many years, and like, with cab drivers, you don't work, you don't get paid kind of thing. So I understood that, he pulled his hours to make sure that he could provide. So I used that as a massive, example to me. The second one is I just had listened to too much rap, and the rap, it's just hustling, like it's independence. It's I'm gonna make it, and all of the sort of struggle, like all that kind of rap, is what I listened to. So those were my podcasts, and amongst coming out. Like I'd listen to a podcast now and then, but the essence and the motivation to do, those first couple scary decisions to leave was always rap, And so, it took a risk. I felt in my heart that I needed to hand in my resignation. So all I had was 6 months worth of savings. I had no contract. This Ministry of Education thing wasn't exist. It wasn't even, on the table, and didn't know about it. But I just kind of thought, if not now, when? I'm going to keep stalling. I've been stalling for the last few years. And so, with that and the help of God, I left in November. And I just knew I got 6 months before I go Auckland mission with my son. So I wanted to force myself in a pocket where I gotta create something. I gotta make something happen. But fortunately, it didn't have to wait too long. December, that Ministry of Education thing came up, and so like I said about the footy mentality as well. Like, okay, now I got my shot. And then from that, there's 2 years, and then on top of that, Spark Foundation have also come to the table for digital discipline and said they want to potentially fund me for 3 years, and so that's
Wow.
lumped in together.
That's awesome,
and so,
man.
like in terms of like again, I say this with deep humility, but for the essence of podcasts, because sometimes I listen to them and I'm like, just tell us everything. Like, but I won't tell you. But I guess for me, in terms of pioneering, I wanted, in the next few years, maybe I'll reveal like the whole game plan. But I guess for this season, it's like for the people that do ask, and I am around. I guess I want to be an example to say that that you don't need to play NRL, first grade, or Super Rugby to make $250,000 or 6 figures. You don't need, like you follow these little steps and live in your purpose. You honor God, then, I think when we think about when it comes to salary, anything over 100, you've got to be a footy player, eh? Or you're one of those, Balinese that grew up, I don't know, or those islanders that grew up in North Shore or something, that privileged or something. I'm just a normal dude, man. Like I didn't leverage a footy career, or I didn't come off the back of any sort of my parents didn't have any, hand me anything. It was like absolute ground, like, came from like fucking struggling to pay rent, and credit cards, and all of that sort of business, man. But I'm still early in it. I don't know what's going to happen after 3 years, but I guess for this little season, for the next 2 to 3. Yeah, we're just going to position ourselves for the next 5, for the next 10, and make sure that, if anybody wants to deliver social service and help people, but also, have that, who has that, hustler mentality and want to make bank, then you can satisfy your heart and you can satisfy Westpac, your little bank account there. And there's nothing wrong with that, because like we've said earlier, we have this mentality that, if I'm going to serve my community or have a message, don't worry about the money, nah, you do. Like, it's 2021, we're living in one of the most expensive, cities in Australasia. Like, you can't pay your bills off love, but you can get paid for it too. Yeah.
It's awesome also.
Man, that's an awesome story, man. And
Man, you're a great example of, someone that's, take control of his life. And going against the grain and said, "Hey, this is me. This is what I want to do." And that, man, that's inspirational, man.
Yeah.
Shoutouts, man. Man, good luck and congratulations on the.
Yeah, man.
And just to hear that stuff, when you hear these names, you're running alongside, it's with Spark and MOE and that, and just to have that kind of, I guess, to have that opportunity now to give back and not have to worry about, especially for the people that are going to use your services, that they don't have to feel like, oh man, I'm going to have to go in the sky, or, am I supposed to give them some piece of or
That's the dream, eh?
Yeah.
That we don't take away from our people, because in terms of the money game, there's funding, and there's people, these big corporates that are willing to support your hard work, especially in these lanes of social enterprise, or doing these community stuff, like you said about Tracy. I think sometimes we trick ourselves into doing these things for free because it's honourable, like we have to suffer to to give, but you don't have to suffer to give, because someone else can pay for your hard work, and you just do what you've always done. But there's no don't need to be shy that that you're asking these guys with the big wallets that's going to cost this much. They don't have access to our community. I think increasingly over this next little while, especially the Dawn Raid stuff, the government almost is forced to have an obligation to honour our communities. So whatever it is that you're passionate about, do it now. Like, this is the time to do it, because the current government, I didn't vote for them, but they are in a position to help our people, and so we need to hold them to their word, to their to keep them accountable, because you said you're gonna shift and change and move a few things around for our people. So pay me and I'll do this for my community, because you can't bring your person from Wellington and try and impact over here in Mangere or out west, because they don't understand the landscape. I do. So you give me the check and I'll do it. Because I'm sick and tired.
Now, thanks, man. I'm cautious about the time because I know you got to go, but man, thanks for coming onto our podcast, man.
Nah, no worries, man. I bought meal offer for you guys.
Oh, mate, you didn't have to.
That's how we do
Yeah, because you're my mouth for me. I'm so wheezy. You guys can fight over which one you guys want, but I bought the 2 books here for you guys. Man, thank you so much.
And bro, it'd be cool to let us know what you guys think, especially about especially in these books in terms of representation. I'll quickly show you guys what it meant to me, I mean, there's some really cool parts of this book where we're putting our people on properly. Like you can even tell, the advertising, bro. Like also all of those little details, man.
Awesome, man.
We're putting our people on. There's, one of my friends who's a barber, and so these are stuff that you just conceptualize in your head, and you're like, nah, people don't do that, and then you're just like, nah, I'm gonna do it. Yeah. Who said you're not allowed? So I put all our Samoan businesses on there as part and parcel of either it's advertising or something in the background, so that when our kids read it or adults, they're like, oh shit, he's breaking all the rules for writing kids' books. You're not allowed to put merch on there. You're not allowed to put a business on there. But who said not? And so anyway, man, I could go off on that, but these are you guys. Appreciate you guys for having me, and love these kind of podcasts because I learn more, about our people and what you guys are doing, and I get to say my piece as well.
Thank you. So thank you for the gift.
We'll have a fight after. Thanks, Oos.
All right.
All good.